We all want the power of Christ to rest on us. So how do we experience the power of Christ? Well, in verse 31, we're told we need to wait for it. We need to wait for it. And for people who are tempted towards self-sufficiency and toward independence, the ugliest word in the world is wait. We hate waiting. We hate waiting. I mean, we can get impatient in the fast food drive-through window. Just think about this for a second. How much more expedient can it become? Your food is ready for you, frighteningly, before you order it. And you don't have to get out of your car to get it. And if your fries take an extra 30 seconds, you're ready to throw things at the poor person on the other side of the window who is at the mercy of the fryer. That's how impatient we are. Amen? Is that you? It's me. And that's when it costs us maybe a couple of seconds waiting for French fries. When we're waiting for healing, or for something truly important in our lives, waiting costs us. Maybe it costs you more pain. Or maybe it costs you more worry, more conflict, more sadness, more poverty. Waiting is hard. But this is what our Creator God puts in front of we, His creatures. We, His children. It's those who wait on the Lord whose strength is renewed. Right out of verse 31. It's those who shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. It's those who wait on the Lord. So how do we do that? Waiting on the Lord is much more than just waiting for a certain amount of time to pass. Waiting on the Lord, in its original context, it means waiting with expectant hope. Waiting, knowing God will act. It's waiting that can only come through the lens of who your God is. It can only come if you have your moorings rooted in the character of God. God is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. We learn in the second message of this series, He's a shepherd who picks up the lambs and holds them close. This is the lens. And it's only through that we can wait with expectant hope. We can be tempted to wait on the Lord with our fingers crossed. Wishful thinking. We don't need to do it. God has adopted us as children. He surely will not forsake us. We don't have to wonder whether God will act. He will. He promises over and over again. We just don't know when. And we just don't know how. But the question of whether He will act is settled. The person who can live in expectant hope out of the resources of the unchanging character of God, that person exchanges their weakness for God's strength. When that person ceases to rely on their own efforts, they receive power from the all-sufficient God. And this kind of faith expresses complete dependence upon God. And it pours new meaning into what it means to mount up with wings like eagles. Consider what John Watts, a commentator, says about that phrase, soaring, mounting up with wings like eagles. He says, the soaring eagle is borne aloft not by his powerful wings, but by the wind's currents lifting his rigid pinions. Those waiting are those prepared to be lifted up and carried aloft by the Spirit of God in His time and in His way. You see, because He is a giving God, He wants to give us power. He wants to give us comfort, and He speaks words of comfort to us today. Folks, He sees that your soul is heavy. He sees that your circumstances are hard, and He knows that you doubt Him. He knows that you doubt Him. He desires to lift us up. He desires to carry us aloft, but He will do it in His perfect time and in His perfect way. And so how do we walk out what it means to wait on God when His timing is different from ours? How do we do that? Well, first, we acknowledge that our thoughts of God are not trustworthy when we're in difficult times. Life's difficulties are disorienting. And so we're suspicious of the hard thoughts we have of God. We then remember what the true character of God is. We exchange the lens of our trial for the lens of our God. His character is unchanging. The God who you adored and was trustworthy before your trial is trustworthy today and will be trustworthy tomorrow. Your circumstances have changed. He has not. And with this confidence in who God is, we are filled with faith that can wait expectantly for God to act. We're driven by the truth that it's God's power, not ours. It's God's power that is our strength. And we say with Paul, we can rejoice with Paul, that when we are weak, then we are strong. And we spread our wings expecting a wind. We don't sit there flapping our wings trying to create our own wind. And we don't sit there with our wings tucked in, wondering if God's going to move. Though we don't feel any wind, we spread our wings waiting for the wind to come. And if it doesn't come today, our God will move. He will move, and so we spread them tomorrow. Our trials are great. Our God is greater. Our God is greater. Our efforts are weak. They're weak. But God is strong. And when we're weak and falling, He stretches out His everlasting arms and He sustains us. He causes us to thrive even in the midst of our trials. And though we're afflicted in every way, we are not crushed. Though we're perplexed, we are not driven to despair. Though we're persecuted, we are not forsaken. And though at times we will be struck down, we're not going to be destroyed. We shall never be destroyed because our God is the everlasting God, the Creator, your Creator. He's the Creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. And He gives power to the weary. I'm in need of that power. You're in need of that power. And we have a God who gives that power. And to him who has no might, He increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. That is our God. That is our everlasting God and our only hope for peace, for comfort, and for strength.